Hello, everyone. Hey, you're here in my office with Joseph Skoda. You know, People often ask me about what are my strategies for the future, or how do I make things work when others are struggling and frustrated and they can't seem to get their act together. And I understand because sometimes I still cannot get my act together. But over the past several years, I've learned to do something different than even my upbringing taught me. It's about strategy. It's about strategic thinking to ensure that what I want to accomplish as a long term goal is kind of put into action. Because when we use strategy, we're planning. And you and I both heard if you, what would you say, you plan your work and then you work your plan. Because if you don't, you kind of plan to fail. We kind of plan to fail when we don't plan our steps of the day. I have a lot of friends that do a daily method of operation. You could say it. It's what they're going to do each and every day. They usually write the night before, sometimes even further. Obviously, wake up, have coffee. But like I learned because I hired a coach not too long ago, and he told me to get up and do 30 minutes of reading each and every day. 30 minutes of reading. And the newspaper didn't count and comic books didn't count. It was something to get my mind focused on. It could be motivational, inspirational, history, something that gets my juices running. So I want to do something different. And don't get me wrong, in addition to those 30 minutes a day, I often spend another 15, 20, 30 minutes in the Bible. Being a Christian, we cannot just pretend we're Christians or play church. It has to be inside here. And when we're reading certain motivational books and inspiring things, it does something here. So we got that going on and this going on and a plan for what we're going to do each and every day. Yeah, that's kind of my secrets. It's the same as exercise. You want to get your exercise started before breakfast, after breakfast, before work, after work. It doesn't matter. You and I just have to be consistent. Now, in my business with social media shows, we have regular business meetings, executive meetings, and we decide and discuss what are we going to do for our future goals, our future plans, how we're going to make that work. In addition to so many other organizations I'm involved with. I have my own nonprofit, as many of you know, called GI Connections, and I have my own executive board. But what does that mean? Sure, our motto is connecting veterans to resources, but what does that mean? We have to be open to being flexible to different changes, making things work a little differently, because sometimes we rush into a decision without fully thinking about what it means or the ramifications if it doesn't work out as planned. Right, raise your hand if you can agree with me. Sure. Now, how about relationships? Sure, I know as a guy, we thrive off of impressing the girl and getting them to like us, but then what? And how do you get them to like you? I thought when I was a kid, eating bugs got the girls to like me. Well, they got them to laugh at me quite a bit and hang out with me, but that wasn't very impressive over time. So what's your strategy to keep that someone from the opposite sex? And you and I must find a way to keep it interesting, entertaining, but it has to be interesting. And you have to be able to challenge one another without really one-upping too much, but challenging one another and getting our mindset straight that we want, that we strive for, that we demand more from one another. Not to be needy. If you're needy, that's not a good strategy at all. You and I need to constantly build our self-worth, and that's through reading, listen to the right videos, go to the right seminars, surrounding ourselves with the right people to attract and keep whom we want in our lives. Now, I learned a lot of strategy in my early adult life when I was in the Air Force, obviously working my way up the chain or up the ranks, as they call it, and learning different skills along the way, being challenged, getting smacked down, making mistakes. Now, too often we make mistakes, we feel down on ourselves. We feel bad. Sometimes we're afraid to take chances again. And that kind of needs to be built into your strategic plan for the future also. What happens if you plan something, it doesn't work out the way you want it to? That does happen. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it to. So are we going to adjust? Are we going to backpedal? Are we going to take a fourth and go a different path? Are we going to push through and persevere in the unknown? And that's interesting because we don't know what we're going to do unless that situation, circumstance comes to us and we have a plan of action. And one thing I've learned too, and I mentioned it earlier, is I found a coach that told me to get up and read 30 minutes a day, study the Bible, do several videos a week talking about myself and what I stand for. And that's important because that's kind of accountability. I have to pay someone to keep me accountable. Can you believe it? It's crazy, but it works. So I became a coach later on to help other people become accountable. It's really simple. We come up with a goal set. We ensure that the training and opportunity and even marketing is there. And then we hold each other accountable to make sure we follow through with that daily method of operation. Our plan for the day, our plan for the week, our plan for the month, and so forth and so on. It doesn't have to be that difficult to have a strategic plan. Now, our government and all governments around the world have strategic alliances with other nations. Of course, we have our strong allies, which the United States should be England, should be Australia, should be Japan, or so many other places. But we also have a strategic relationship with those nations who are not our close friends. What do they say? They say keep your friends closer and your enemies, or your friends close and your enemies even closer. That's a strategy. Because when you develop an ally or an agreement with someone you don't get along with or a potential enemy, you kind of give each other permission to hold one another accountable. That you're going to follow through with your plans, that you're going to protect each other, whatever that means. Protect each other with armed forces, money, minerals, whatever that is, services. So it's important to develop strategic relationships in obviously your significant other and your families, your communities, outside of our communities, and constantly work and build those relationships stronger. Now we have NATO and the Pac-10 and so many other things around the world that different countries get together and try to forecast a plan so everyone's safe. And obviously we have the companies that have to do with oil, OPEC, and some other things to ensure we keep the oil prices reasonable for everyone. So what are some of the strategies that you're going to put together in the near future? What are some of those strategies that's going to get you to that next level, that next step? Who are you going to be accountable to? And I encourage you to be accountable to someone. Of course, yourself, of course, to our God Almighty, but be accountable for what could go right or could go wrong. Now, it's funny, I'm in Toastmasters. A lot of you already know that, and I'm a distinguished Toastmaster, been a member for almost 8 years, and I'm loving it in district leadership. And we have different educational paths. We call them pathways. And right now, I'm on a pathway called strategic relationships. Now, it's roughly 15 to 20 speeches that have to do with evaluations and projects, a lot of other different things we have to do to make it through that path. It's 5 levels. It's a lot of work. It could take several months, could take even a year or so. But I have a strategy to complete the path quicker because I already have different relationships put into place. So I'm often calling people to be on a panel with me, be a guest speaker. I'll speak at an event for them and collaborate on a lot of different issues to help me make it through my personal educational goals throughout the year. So obviously, when I put a speech together, I have to do a little bit of research. Where I do a little research, that could be reading, that could be checking online, the internet, if we can even trust that anymore, and talking to the right people who kind of been there, done that, who can kind of guide and mentor me along the way to not just give a good speech, but mentor me in life to help me achieve certain goals. Do you have that person in place to help you reach those goals that you want to? Not just New Year's resolution goals, getting back into shape, losing weight, making more money, and those are all extremely important. But they're only really important to you if you have that plan, if you develop that strategy, if you develop those strategic relationships, allies, you could call it, to finish up, but you need to make it there and give yourself the edge. Because we cannot all have the edge without a little bit of help. What they call people that think they got it going on and don't? Right, knuckleheads. They're knucklehead. I can relate to that. I've been called knucklehead a lot in my life and in the past. So what are you and I going to do a little bit differently this year? Well, forget this year. What are we going to do a little bit differently today than we did yesterday? And especially tomorrow, and so forth and so on. Develop those strong relationships. Get a strategy into place. Make the world work for you. Have you ever heard about leverage? And something I learned about in real estate investing, I don't know, probably 20 years ago, doing something where we're leveraging OPM, other people's money. So you and I can invest in a $500,000 project or even a couple $1,000,000 project with little to no money out of our own pockets when you're developing those relationships, when you're changing your mindset by the books you read and the people you surround yourselves with. Most rich people hold on to their own money and invest other people's money instead of their own money while they continuously build their bank account. You and I can do the same thing, maybe at a smaller level, but we all have to start somewhere, right? Have to start somewhere. How do we do that? Well, hire a coach. I'll give you some ideas. Now, here's something I learned. I really forgot where, but I think it was when I was involved in Amway about 30 years ago. It talked about you could buy a brand new Cadillac in like 3 to 5 years. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you buy the car that you can with the cash you have in your pocket. Let's say $1,000 car. And then you're making payments like you're making a car payment, but you already own the car. Let's say you put away $200 a month on top of that. So in a year, that $200 a month is now $2,400. So now you have a car and $2,400 you can trade into something just a little bit better. So let's say you have $5,000 car. So now you invest your $2,500, your $1,000, you got that $5,000 car, and you're still making those $200 a month payments. So now you got $5,000 car plus another $2,500. You understand, you can do this over and over again, but it's like continuously paying yourself despite what you have already. Just kind of put money into a long-term savings, short-term savings, and retirement plan. 10% tithing for our Lord, you can give yourself 10 or 20% yourself. Just those little increments in each and every time. But you and I often want here and now. We live in a here and now society. I want that big TV today. I want that nice car here. I want that big house, next month. I can't wait. So we often put ourselves into debt with something we can't afford or can barely afford. And with the way our economy is now, you and I could lose our jobs next week or next month. That stuff does happen. So I strongly encourage you not to stretch out beyond your means. We have to stretch. If we don't stretch, we're not going to grow. But there's stretching, and then there's stupidity, you know what I mean? Until we're ready. So we just prepare ourselves, getting those strategies put in place, working our daily method of operation, surrounding ourselves with the right people, finding a coach to help us get what we want. If you can hold on 4, 5, 6 years without frivolous spending money on things that you don't need, you truly can have everything you want. We have to hold back on our resources and invest wisely. Have to hold back on our time. Our time is important to us and our families, and invest that time wisely. We need to be able to hold back on who we're going to let into our inner circle to ensure that we're getting the motivation, inspiration, knowledge, push up in the right direction so you and I can accomplish our goals. I'm encouraging you, don't rush out there and get the next biggest TV coming out or soundbar or get a car just because you need a car. Hey, I have a car right now. I drive a Volvo. 230,000 miles on that Volvo. I love it. It's a 2012. Nothing's wrong with it. Sure, I'll need a brake job on oil changes and things like that, like everyone else, but nothing's wrong with it. But guess what? I'm still making payments to myself as if I was making payments on that Volvo. For instance, if you're paying $300 a month for a car and you finally pay it off, continuously put that $300 a month away into your own pocket, into your own savings. So later on, I can trade my Volvo and that $300 a month. And 1 year, it's $3,600. The $3,600 plus that, I think we talked about that earlier. In 4 to 5 years, you can have a brand new vehicle. You think wisely, buy something you can afford with the cash you have, and make payments for a future car that you don't have yet. But so you have the car, you have that money saved, and hopefully you shop for a good bargain. Life doesn't have to be this tough. We put those strategies into place. We write down what we want to do. We have our strategic allies. You don't have to be a president or a big leader in a company to have allies and relationships with other people. You might still be going to school. Hey, I commend you for that. I did that for a long time, but you have hopefully a study group or a counselor to help you get through your degree, educational program. Or be like me. Join Toastmasters and learn how to communicate. Learn leadership skills. Learn how to run. I don't care if it's a small club or me. I'm a district leader of about 3,000 members right now. Trust me. Never thought I'd be here a few years ago. But I had strategies in place. I had people that believed in me. I helped people push me, teach me, coach me to become better than I was myself, or better than I ever thought I could be. I'm going to let you go. One more thought. If you have negative people in your life, and we all do, most of them are family, and we can't get rid of them, minimize the time you spend with those negative people. Minimize or shut out entirely the news or social media that's all negative news. You and I are meant to be social animals, but we're meant to be positive social animals. If we have positive influences in our life, we're going to have positive outcomes. We have negativity come in our minds, in our lives, we're going to push out that negativity also to the wrong people. Stay safe. Make sound decisions. If you're in charge of a club or any organization, have regular meetings with your exec, your board, your members themselves, and come up with a strategy that works for you. Trust me, you won't regret it. Well, here you are. You're in the office with Joseph Skoda. I appreciate you. Look me up, josephskoda.com. Maybe I can help you develop a strategy that will work for you in your future. Have yourself a great day. Over and out. If you liked our show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or find us on any social media platform, Instagram, of course, Facebook. Like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts and join our team. Anyways, we appreciate you staying tuned week after week, day after day, because we continuously build up our network to bring to you what you're asking for. Have a great day.